Hi everyone, this is Ali John Chaudhary, psychotherapist, and today I'm here with Fern Schumer Chapman, author. And today we're going to be talking about mental wellness and sibling estrangement. Fern, it's great to have you here for the new year right now. 2025 is already here upon us, so great to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, every year we all have to assess where are we going from here, especially in some of these difficult sibling relationships. And what do you want? What do you want to take from last year with you? What do you want to leave behind? How are you going to move forward in some of these relationships? How will you stay true to yourself? These are tough questions and they do factor into well-being. So I think it's great we're talking about this today.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's really, really important that we get ourselves started off on a good foot, of course, when it comes to getting the new year going and seeing what we can cultivate in terms of habits. Now, for me, I know that I've been trying to cultivate the importance in being more creative. For example, I'm going to be starting to play ukulele. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I'm quite excited about that actually. So that's a simple instrument to learn, apparently, I'm told. So I hope I can get into it a little bit more this year.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, well, I'm trying to go to the gym, like everybody else in America, at least. And I'm trying to find my way back to some of the things I've loved in the past. So sometimes careers get away from you, and you have to assess what is your passion. And in my case, my greatest passion is writing. So back to writing.
Absolutely, and I think that's a great quality to have, and a great habit, of course, to foster and such. And that is something that I'm trying to do a little bit more of as well, as a matter of fact. So, Fern, let's talk about some of the interesting habits that people in our community can build. I think that's really, really important, right? And I think that one of the first habits that people can look at to strengthen themselves for this year is to acknowledge and recognize your emotions. I really think that that's a really important one because what happens is that it helps us to move forward when it comes to recognizing how impactful something like estrangement can do to us. And I would also even say that it's one of the first steps in grieving, as a matter of fact. So, recognizing our emotions is really, really important and seeing how that can influence our decisions and behaviors.
Yeah, I think there's a tendency to bury emotions and act like they have no value, and actually, they are cues. They show us what we need to change, what we need to address. And so, if you actually pay attention to and acknowledge and recognize what you're feeling, that is the first step towards some sort of balance.
Yeah.
Uh, but mo most of us don't want to feel certain things, so we avoid it.
And that's the thing that's especially important, right? It's one thing to acknowledge our emotions, but really what's important also with them is to learn to manage them at the same time, right? And that's another skill that's super important for us, right? It's important that we be able to name them, but also not suppress them, but learn really how to manage them. And I think that learning to of course distance ourselves from negatively engaging in them is a skill that really can be worked on, right? Because when you start to do that, really what you're doing is you're appeasing your nervous system. And really, what helps is grounding techniques, mindfulness strategies to really help in helping to foster and manage them in a healthier and proactive way.
Right. And I know you're about to talk about journaling, but I just have to jump in and say journaling. And we think of journaling as crafting, and it's not crafting. It's simply pouring the emotions on the page. And actually, when you're upset, it's an even greater opportunity to get at those feelings than when you feel good.
I absolutely agree. It really helps us to go further when it comes to experiencing the status quo, especially. So you're absolutely right. I agree that journaling is a great skill to develop. And also, I think another type of skill that's really important to develop is to recognize and focus on what is within our control. And too often, right, we fall into the trap of wanting to fix or influence something that's outside of our control. And it's always a good reminder to focus on areas of influence that we have that are within our scope. Because really, what happens is we lose a lot of energy and we become drained from excessive thinking that just branches out in too many abstract ways that really gives us little to show for it.
Right. And actually, very little is in your control.
Mhm.
You can control how you react and you can control how you manage your feelings.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's kind of
absolutely.
the end of it.
Yeah, and that's really, really important. And it's important to see how they all kind of intermingle together, right? And there's an interconnectedness with all of them. And another thing that helps, of course, is embracing the present moment. We really have a tendency as people to go into the past and dwell or guilt ourselves into choices or decisions we made, or really fretting about the future or how to look for us. And really, about when it comes to cultivating this important skill of being in the present moment, what this does is this fosters peace of mind, and it really helps us to just de-stress. I often say to people, it's okay to go into analytical thinking when you need to kind of problem solve, but always remember to return back to present moment awareness to help you to foster a sense of calm.
And actually, it's a practice and it's a discipline. And what it takes is telling yourself to pay attention. So, for example, when you take that first sip of coffee, when you wash your face, you want to feel the water. Actually, when you take a walk, to pay attention to what you see, name it. Those things that's the practice of mindfulness.
Very important, of course, to put words to your experience and to be curious about your experience. And again, another hallmark of mindfulness and such. And another thing that people can do is also to reframe what sibling estrangement means for you. Now, I find that oftentimes we focus on what we don't have, right? And we dwell in this place of lack, right? And I often come to people and ask them, well, how can we flip the question, right? How can we ask ourselves what we've gained, or through our experience of sibling estrangement? Could it be freedom, for example? Could it be that you're more authentic? Could it be that you've all of a sudden got room for friends in your life? Like, what extra space has that freed you up that you can experience now?
Right. And also, how has it changed you? How has it made you who you are today? We never think about that, but it actually does shape our personhood and in some ways for the better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that's really, really important, of course, to recognize that and to see just what it does to us and such. And if we want to go a little bit further, we can ask what we've learned from sibling estrangement,
Right.
right? And that's a great quality as well, too, right? To recognize how we can make a lesson out of adverse experience and such, by asking ourselves, well, do we tolerate discomfort more, for example? Are we okay with things being incomplete, which seems to be something that happens to a lot of us? Are you better at setting boundaries and recognizing toxic or inappropriate behaviors, for example? So there can be so many lessons to be learned with sibling estrangement.
Right. And we see on the page all the time that people feel that learning about it and gaining knowledge is power.
Yeah,
And there's great value in understanding this so that when you go out into the world, you're able to recognize some of the danger signs when you see similar characteristics to some of your siblings.
absolutely. And that's what makes it great is that it really is far reaching when it comes to the habits that you get to develop that can start to affect other areas in your life as well in a healthy way. So it's super important to do that and such and to build on that particular habit. And one other habit I think that's really important as a general mindset for people to have is simply cultivating self-improvement, right? Learning to become the best version of yourself in order to continue to flourish and experience a sense of growth, because stagnation really occurs when we consider ourselves a finished product. When we seek to better ourselves through, say, healthy habits, new discoveries, or hobbies, we're really continuing to move forward and allowing ourselves to become more proactive by considering that there's always something about us that needs to improve.
And there's another piece to self-improvement. It's also societal improvement. And what I mean by that is talking about this stigma of sibling estrangement. So many of us are hurt because we not only lose the sibling, but we lose the societal support because nobody wants to acknowledge the problem here. And the more each of us discusses sibling estrangement, we reduce the stigma and improve all of our lots in life.
I absolutely agree with that. The more we talk about it, the more we make it into a thing, the more we make it normal for people to bring this out rather than bottling it up inside and pretending as though it's not a thing, you know? It's really, really important that people recognize that this is much more common than a whole lot of people realize, right?
Right, and the less we talk about it, the more we increase the shame that's attached to it.
Exactly. By normalizing it and by saying and putting words to it and such, we're really helping other people acknowledge that, right? And we're coming back to goal number one, which is to acknowledge our emotions, right? So, Fern, this has been a wonderful episode. I'm really, really happy that we were able to talk about building these healthy habits for 2025 and beyond, of course. Uh, and let's talk about resources. What will be your number one resource at this time?
Well, you just laid the path for me. The Sibling Estrangement Journal, which helps you process your grief through writing. And again, this is, if you don't feel you can do this on your own, this book has prompts which addresses some of the issues that are coming up for you in the estrangement.
That is a great resource right there, Fern. And I absolutely agree. That's important for our viewers to take a look at. You know, my number one resource is the Sibling Estrangement Support Group I offer on Zoom. Very important for people to come together, be able to talk in real time, and help to feel less alone because of sibling estrangement, to have other people be understanding and giving of advice. And of course, by hosting this, I like to empower people with practical advice and such. And if people want to go further with me, they can also get in touch with me to register for the intensive workshop on improving self-esteem following sibling estrangement. I am taking registrants for this new round for the new year. So if people are interested in joining me for a more intensive, experiential focused, cutting edge type of approach with sibling estrangement, this will be your chance to get on board with me. So Fern, this has been wonderful. I'm so, so happy that we were able to get together like this and to talk about all of the new habits that we can build for the new year. And hopefully, we can get back together again and discuss further on some of these topics.
Yeah, we'll check in at 2026 to find out if we actually achieve those goals.
Right? Thank you so much for doing this again. And I look forward to speaking with you.
Me too.
You take care.
Right.
Bye bye.